Hey everyone, Scott here from Country Roads Fly Company, coming at you from wild, wonderful West Virginia, USA. And welcome to another edition of Wrap by Wrap, where we take a detailed look at some very specific fly tying techniques. In today's edition, we're going to cover the parachute post. So we'll take a look at how to properly mount your parachute post material, how to orient it vertically, and how to prepare it for your parachute hackle. I'm going to start by mounting my tying thread to the hook shank. I'm going to return the thread to just about 2 to 3 eye widths behind the eye of the hook. And then, as far as parachute post material goes, you've got a number of options. Calf tail hair was one of the original materials used for these types of posts. Calf body hair also works well. Turkey flats, turkey T-baits feathers also work well. There's also a number of synthetics that you can use, and that's what we're going to use today. And for any new fly tyer or anybody that's new to parachute patterns, I would highly recommend using a synthetic material like this parapost material that we're going to use today. It's much easier to work with than natural hair. So to mount this synthetic material, I'm going to pass it in front of the thread and then grab each end of the material. I've got about a 3-inch section here. I'm going to lift up behind the hook, grabbing the tying thread in the process, and then just rest it on top of the hook shank in my mounting position. Make sure it's on top, and then hold it in place using my index finger of my offhand, and then just pull a nice tight tension on that thread. I'll make another wrap. And then I'm going to turn the material so that I can start making just a couple crisscross wraps around this material. And just make sure it's seated there on the top of the hook shank nicely. At this point, I'm going to vertically orient the material, and with my thread in front of the post and holding up on the post with the fingers of my offhand, my left hand, I'm going to take a horizontal wrap of thread around the very base of the material, just where it joins the hook shank. I'll have to release it briefly, let my thread pass, make one wrap, and then I'm going to make another half wrap and then stop with the thread pointing away from me, the bobbin away from me. Then I'm really going to pull on this thread, some pretty strong tension. Don't break your thread, but really put some nice tension on it. And then I'm going to take a wrap underneath the hook shank in normal direction and just take a wrap around the hook shank to secure everything. So the wing post should be cinched pretty well to the top of the hook shank at this point. So from here, I'm going to flatten my thread, and then I'm just going to do basically the same as I just did, except I'm going to continue these horizontal wraps up the post material. Just successive wraps, one after the other, working my way up the wing post. Now, how far up the post you want to go depends on the pattern you're tying. If you're tying a very thinly profiled body fly, you don't need to go probably more than 5 wraps. If you're tying a fly that's heavily dubbed, has a pretty substantial thorax on it, you might need to go up to 7 or 8, which is what I'm going to do. Just a couple more. And one thing to note, as you get higher, as your thread wraps get higher on this wing post, you're going to need to loosen your tension on the thread as you work your way up. If you put too much tension on at this point, the wing post is just going to collapse under the tension of the thread. And let me see if I can demonstrate. I'm going to pull, see how it unravels. But you don't want that to happen. So when you start, you can really put some nice tension on the thread. But just as you work your way up, just gradually release the tension or lessen the tension that you're putting on the thread, to the point that when I'm at the top, I'm barely putting any tension on it at all. And once I reach the top, I'm just going to work my way back down. Again, successive wraps, light tension to begin with, and then you can gradually increase that tension as you work your way down. And once I reach the bottom, I'm putting some pretty significant tension on it at this point. Now I'm going to maintain that tension as I make another wrap around the hook shank. Just lock in everything I've done to this point. So there we have it. We've got a nice solid foundation on which we can mount a parachute hackle when the time comes, which we'll cover in another video. Some tyers do like to put a drop of head cement around the base, right around here. I find that unnecessary. If you really control your thread tension, there's really no need. I mean, that base is rock solid. At this point, we really made it nice and tight when we could, so it's not going anywhere. So that'll about do it for this edition of Wrap by Wrap. I hope you found this video helpful. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until then, thanks for watching.